What's up guys, this is Saiyan here coming at you with another deck profile, and today we are looking at the Dark Side starter deck for Death Star 2, good old Star Wars Decipher CCG back from 2000. This was produced, I believe, and we have a couple of exclusive cards in this starter. We also have many Endor cards. And obviously basically really nicely constructed deck. Basically the dark and the light side starter plays really well against each other. We are going to have a detailed look at the dark side deck today, so join me. So basically what we get in the starter is the deck itself and a nicely streamlined rulebook that does reference obviously back to the glossary. This is probably the smallest rulebook you can find for the Star Wars CCG. And my favorite part here about the release of Shadows of the Empire set, which of course we never saw, but Reflections 2 did see characters like Chizor, Dash Randar, and friends. So that's pretty cool. But the deck. So, first things first, we get prepared defenses, and we get combat readiness. Any one of the two can be our starting interrupts. I would say forget about combat readiness and run with prepared defenses. Prepared defenses is a very, very good starting interrupt. And who knew? Probably not by accident, but we actually do get 3 effects that can be laid out with prepared defenses in play as well. So we have basically the ability to pick our starting location, play prepared defenses, put these 3 effects out immediately, a good start to the game. Inconsequential losses deploy on table. Each turn, each of your characters' vehicles and starships may forfeit one of its weapons with a forfeit value of 3, and it goes to the use pile. We have a couple of weapons, we're going to go through them. This is a pretty good card. It can really keep your troops in play if you lose battles or if your opponent gets destiny. Battle order, again, deploy on table, immune to alter to fit the conditions of prepared defenses. You may initiate battles for free, that's really cool. And for either player to initiate a force drain, they have to basically pay 3 force unless they occupy a battleground site and a battleground system. That can only happen if you're on Endor and you are also occupying one of the Endor sites. And finally, we get combat response. During your deploy phase, you may reveal one unpiloted starfighter from hand and take its matching pilot character from reserve deck into hand, or vice versa. This is going to be the core of our deck. We're really going to be pivoting heavily on combat readiness. And I'm not going to put these too far away because I will be going and referencing back to these. But whilst we're on interrupts, let's just go through them. As I mentioned, we have an option to start with combat readiness as our starting interrupt, but it's not a bad card even as a used interrupt. If a battle was just initiated, draw destiny and activate up to that much force. And if you use it as your starting effect, you deploy from your reserve deck one battleground site related to your starting location. So you just basically you would have to then definitely start with Endor and fish out one of the 4 battleground sites you get for Endor as well. So let's have a look at our locations. And again, as I said, if you want to start with combat readiness, you probably want to go to Endor because the deck only has Endor sites. We get the back door, we get Ancient Forest, we get Grey Forest, and we get the landing platform, which is our docking bay. So if you occupy for each of your starships here, your total power is +1 for each related Endor site. So you want to come to Endor, you will do Battle of Endor. Basically, that's what you're gonna get with this versus the light side deck. Both of the players will be competing to occupy Endor and go down and occupy a battleground site as well, because otherwise they won't be able to force drain with battle order in play. So that's really cool. And realistically, the light side is not really good, so they would have to go and convert. And then any of these four, so the back door, during your move phase, you may move from back door to bunker or vice versa. We don't get a bunker, so this is literally just like two force icon generated. Um, we get Ancient Forest, which is again another one that is mostly there for just force generation, and only gives one icon to our opponent. No text on their side. Your aliens are deploy -1, doesn't matter for us. If basically it could be blank for the sense of this deck, or the dark side effect as well. Grey Forest. Your character movements from here requires +1 land speed. Not really a problem, because we've got walkers, we got AT-ATs to deal with that. But yeah, it's probably not the greatest sight. What you really do want to get out though, and if I were with combat readiness, I would pull out the docking bay for sure. Basically, one force docking bay transit. But if you have an Imperial present, then it's free. So basically, you can go up to your ships from the landing platform, no problem. Um, if you carry on playing with the game and you want to use this deck as your starting point, you're gonna need this docking bay anyway to be able to go to other planets' docking bays for that stuff. But again, it's an okay selection of battleground sites. I'm not super crazy about either of them. I think the main point is for the space battle, but we do get a few nice land troops as well. Now, the location I would start with, considering we start with prepared defenses, I would wholeheartedly recommend to start with Castle. Castle is a 2-icon site, and the light side only gets 1 icon. And also, they have to have a total ability of 6 or more to draw Battle Destiny here. Your starships deploy -1 here, and if you control Castle is cancelled, doesn't matter. Basically, you can get your victory class Star Destroyers cheaper down here. That's what we really care about. And the fact that we generate 2 force, our opponent needs 6 or more ability to draw Battle Destiny. Now, considering they can convert it, maybe you want to withhold this card, but you're never going to get guaranteed to get it. Your opponent's not going to guarantee to have it in the starting hand to convert it, so might as well start with Castle. And 2 more planets we have. We looked at Endor, we looked at Castle. We also get Sullust, and we get Mon Calamari. They don't really do much. Sullust doesn't really do much. Mon Calamari has a couple of interesting effects though. If you occupy with a Star Destroyer, opponent's Star Cruisers are deployed +2 and may not deploy here. So potentially you could also start with Mon Calamari. If you're worried that your castle is going to get converted early game, start with Mon Calamari, but then you're going to have to spend a couple of turns just moving your stuff over here. But to be fair, you can actually deploy to castle, so that's not really a problem. But one of the good things about castle is that it is on Parsec 8, and so is Endor. So if you start on castle and then you drop Endor a bit later, your opponent drops Endor, no problem. You can just move over, not a problem at all. So this is it for locations, and just finishing off with the interrupts. We get 1 copy of Flawless Marksmanship, a cool little card. Basically adds X to 1 starship weapon or track should be destiny. If you use it as a used, it adds 2. If you use it as a lost interrupt, it adds 4 to that destiny value. This can be a battle changing card for sure. We get 2 copies of Monarch. It's just basically a bit of a hand control. If our opponent would have 13 or more cards in their hand, we randomly discard that down to 8. We can also use it as a lost interrupt, use 4 force to cause opponent to reveal their hand, and then you can discard all cards that they have more than 1 copy of. Monarch is an excellent card, even in the sort of like the late game of the original CCG before the community took over. Particularly if you know if there's a sign that they may hold multiple copies of the same card, which is not really going to happen when you play against the light side version. There's a couple of cards that we see 2 copies of, but realistically, in this particular deck, you want to mostly utilize the used effect. Just if they, early game they load up their hand with a lot of cards, you just drop a monarch, make sure that they discard a lot of potentially useful cards. We do get 2 copies of Dark Maneuvers, our second best Destiny value card in the deck. And it's also a really cool use interrupt as well. S2 to maneuver and 1 to power of any starfighter for the remainder of the turn, and you can use it as, basically it can be used as an interrupt to affect the result immediately after a destiny draw targeting the starfighter's maneuver is being played. So that's really cool. I like Dark Maneuvers. It's a pretty cool little card. We also get a Gook. If you just lost a battle and after having forfeited all cards from the battle location, still have battle. If you still have battle damage remaining, you just cancel the remaining of that battle damage. And we have 1 Imperial Reinforcements. Basically, if your opponent outnumbers you by the total characters and starships on the table for 1 force, you draw Destiny, and you can recover that many stormtroopers or TIE fighters from your lost pile. So just a little, it's kind of like a heal card, really, isn't it? That we can, and we got a lot of TIEs in the deck. We got a few stormtroopers as well, so it can't hurt to have Imperial Reinforcements in the deck. Okay, so if I come back to our starting effects, combat response, I said, will be our pivot point for the deck, and the reason for that being is we get a nice selection of ships with their pilots. So we got Scythe 3 with Lieutenant Habsley. Well, first of all, the ships generally have an average 3 or 4 destiny value, so that's already pretty cool. Fairly cheap deployment for 2. We can make that even cheaper in some cases. Habsley deploys for free on board because he costs 2 less. Normally that will be free. You can fire a starship weapon in your move phase. That's really cool. Immune to attrition less than 4 if Habsley is piloting. Well, that's not going to be a problem because if you have 1, you're going to be able to get the other one. Habsley adds 2 power of anything to pilots, and he also subtracts 1 from maneuver one of the opponent's starfighters at the same location if he's on side 3. So that's immediately a good start, and we have quite a few of these pairings. We have Saber 3 with DS181-3. Cannons deploy -2 aboard. Again, that's going to be good. We do have TIE cannons in the deck. Immune transition less than 3 if he's piloting, which is going to happen. He adds 2 to the power, so this is going to be a power 5 ship, which by the way has a 1 cost, so that's ridiculously good. The guy is also 1 cost, so that's super good. And he draws a battle Destiny is not able to otherwise when he's on there, and he can he stops opponent reacting to the same sector. That's just really good. Saber 3, we have Saber 4 as well with 1A1-4. So this guy can deploy with the pilot as a react, so you can search it out, keep it in your hand, and then during your opponent's turn you just deploy as a react when they initiate a battle. Excellent stuff. Immune to attrition less than 4 when 1A1-4 is piloting. He adds anything. He adds 3 to the power of any TIE he pilots. That's really cool. You can take a unique TIE interceptor into the hand from the reserve deck, so he works super well with this as well. If you get him early game, first of all, he's gonna get his own ship. Play him, and then make sure that you get Saber 3, Scythe 3, Scimitar 2, and Black 3, which are the other 2 ships that we have the pilots for. So if you look at Scimitar 2, we have Captain Jonas. Another nice little cheap deployment because he deploys -2 aboard Scimitar, adds 2 to the power of anything he pilots. And when forfeited from a TIE SA, This is a Thai SA. Also satisfies all remaining attrition that you get from the battle. So if you take like really heavy losses, you can just attrition this too, and you got no problem. Um, and this guy basically just doesn't do much else. I don't think we have proton torpedoes, no. But again, if you upgrade the deck, then obviously can do some good stuff with proton torpedoes or during bombing runs. And then finally Black 3 with the reserve pilot, and reserve pilot can be searched because it refers to Black 3 in its effect text. Adds one to the power of anything he pilots, and also you want to make sure he's on Black 3, so he adds one maneuver, and he also draws on Battle Destiny if not able to otherwise. So we got two ships that can draw Battle Destiny if not able to otherwise with their matching pilot, and that's what is basically going to be our main starting point for the deck. See any of these cards, get the matching pilot and go from there. Ideally, the best starting point, of course, is to start with Saber 4 or the S1A1/4, because then we can search for the rest of this crew. As for the remainder of the ships, we get 2 copies of Scythe Squadron Thai. A bit of an expensive one, but it can deploy -2 to Andor. So that's obviously where we want to drop this guy. And we have an ability of 2 and basically 2 power with the permanent pilot. It's okay. It's a 4 destiny, so that's a cool little added bonus. We have 3 TIE interceptors, definitely a lot cheaper. Permanent pilot provides ability of 1, power +1 when present with an X-wing, and he can fire a starship weapon twice. So, it is worthwhile considering to put one of your starship weapons in a TIE interceptor. It's a good, strong ship. For 2, you get a power 4. That's already good. Only an ability of 1, but if you get 2 of these, 1 of these, then you're already drawing Battle Destiny. We have 3 TIE Defender Mark 1s. This guy, again, it's really cool. I really like this ship, to be honest. It can deploy as a react. Again, that's really, really good that we can do that with multiple ships actually here. Permanent pilot provides ability of 1. Any starship can deploy. The only thing is if your opponent has a ship that has a higher maneuver, then he's going to get -2 power. So you got to be careful with that. Probably want to make sure that you avoid situations or, basically just kill there. Make sure you get rid of their higher maneuver ships. And then finally, really cool Star Destroyer, 3 copies of Victory class Star Destroyer. It costs 6, but again, if you start on Castle, you can deploy this for 5. We have ship docking capabilities if you want to deploy this guy with a number of ties in a different point. Just throw the ties on free movement and move them about to where you want your team to be. Adds 1 to your total power in battles at related planet sites. That's also going to be really important. So basically, you want to control space with your Star Destroyers and with your ships to provide some extra reinforcements for your vehicles and your troops down on the planet. And in terms of vehicles, obviously in usual Andor battle fashion, we have 2 Tempest Scouts, power 3, armor 4, land speed 3. That's why I said it's not necessarily a problem to move about, because we have land speed 3. May move as a react for 1 additional force. That is super cool as well. We have permanent pilot providing ability of 1. That's okay, but he's going to make sure that elite squadron stormtroopers are deployed -1 to the same side. So for our land forces, the Tempest Scout is a very, very good starting point to start with. This is enhanced with a Tempest Scout 3, power 3, armor 4, may deploy or move as a react to a forest or Andor site. So all the 4 sites we have are Andor sites. can move or deploy again as a react, super cool. And we have basically may add one pilot or passenger. Permanent pilot provides ability of 2. So if you can get all the 3 ATSTs down, then you're already drawing Battle Destiny. And we also get Tempest 1, an AT-AT, immune to attrition less than 4. That can be really good. Unfortunately, land speed not very slow. Make sure you drop it where you really need it. And again, we have permanent pilot providing ability of 2. Each of its weapon destiny draws is +1. It's not going to be using any weapons, but it's good if you're then using this deck as the foundation of a more advanced deck. And in terms of the additional characters, we have Piet. He wants to be obviously on one of the Victory class Star Destroyers. Power 3 ability, 3 for a 4 cost Admiral, really good. Adds 2 to power of anything he pilots, but +3 to a Star Destroyer. That's what I'm saying. You want to make sure you get this guy on the Victory class. Victory class will then be a power 9 on its own with Piet, so that's pretty cool. And your capital starships deploy -1 to the same system. So these are capital ships. So if you get one Victory class down and you're on Castle, it will cost you 5. And then you get this down. The other 2 you can get down for 4. So again, you get this bargain effect, which is really good. The more force you can save for interrupts and all that stuff, particularly sort of dogpiling groups, that is really realistically where you want to be. Doesn't really do any rest of the stuff. We don't have an Admiral's Order or Commander in the deck. I really think they could have at least included a Commander. That would be really cool. But even like this, I think it's a pretty cool little combo to have just, at least start a situation like that. We get Lieutenant Grond. He's a good pilot, but he's also a good warrior. S2 to anything to the power of what he pilots, ability of 2, so that's okay as well. When a battle at your exterior side, S2 to the attrition against your opponents for each of your biker scouts and biker troopers. We don't have that in the deck, unfortunately, but he's still a very good pilot, and that's basically just what we want to see here. Another good pilot that we have is Lieutenant Arnett. Deploys free abroad Blizzard 1. We don't have Blizzard 1, we have Tempest 1. As to the power of any combat vehicle he pilots, but it's 3 if it's an ATST. So we got 3 ATSTs. Drop this guy on any of them, and you're flying again. You have a lot of power on the ground. When piloting Tempest Scout 1, which we do have, draws on Battle Destiny if not able to otherwise. No, sorry, we have Tempest Scout 3, so that's a shame. With Tempest Scout 1, though, that would be really cool. So again, you can just kind of take this deck and improve it a bit more. I think Tempest Scout 1 is another rare. Blizzard 1 and, Tempest 1 and Tempest Scout 3 are 2 rare cards, by the way, guys. Then we get Sergeant Tarl. Sergeant Tarl is basically mostly about to be our generic warrior. He's not going to be piloting anything. He's just going to be around, and we get another power 2 ability to Stormtrooper. We have 1 copy of Corporal Dresden, power 2 ability 2. Once during each of your control phases, may take 1 special delivery into hand. We haven't got that, so that's a bit of a shame. When Dresden completes special delivery, then you can take 2 cards in addition. Again, there's nothing of that in the deck, so same way as Sergeant Tarl, Dresden is just like it's a little bit more powerful than just the basic Stormtrooper. Is basically what we get. But really, where we want to go is the Elite Squadron Troopers. These guys are cool. They obviously deploy cheaper if we get Tempest Scout down. So they will have a deployment of 2. So that's really cool. They also get +2 power while armed with a blaster. We have 2 blasters in the deck. When using a blaster, subtract 1 force required to use it, and it adds 2 to forfeit for each of your Stormtroopers of ability of higher than 2 at the same site. So again, this is literally the main of our ground forces, the ground troops is obviously getting Tempest Scout down, and that makes a really Squadron Troopers cheaper, more powerful. This is basically where we want to go when we're on ground at Andor. And finally, to the weapons, as I did say, we get 2 blaster rifles. Use 2 force to deploy on your warrior. May target a character, creature, or vehicle using 2 force. 1 force if you use it with the elite stormtroopers. Target lost, target hit if it's destiny +1. If destiny you draw is +1 is higher than their defense value. So a pretty good blaster, I suppose, is fairly standard issue stormtrooper stuff. For the ships, we get 2 one-time use intruder missiles. May deploy on a TIE bomber, defender, or freighter. May target a capital ship for free. Draw destiny. Add 3 if that capital ship was targeted by another weapon this turn. Target hit if the destiny you draw is higher than the defense value, and then this goes to your used pile. Highest destiny value card we get in the deck. We got 2 of the Dark Maneuvers, 2 of the Intruder Missile. Those are 6s, these are 7s, so that's already amazing. The fact that it goes to the use pile means we will be able to recover this and then draw it for future destinies. So if you hit this stuff, you want to make sure you start counting your deck, so you know when you're going to be hitting that 7 for destiny. Also, what's really cool is because we have 3 weapons that actually don't go to the use pile when we use them. Interesting for the concussion missiles, by the way, that they don't go to the lost or used pile after being used, where the missiles, these 2 missiles do. I don't know, maybe there's an errata for that. You guys maybe can let me know in the comments below. But if we use any 3 of these before we use this, then this will get +3 to the destiny. So that's really strong. That can actually mean that we are going to be able to hit ships, and if a ship is hit, they unless they can protect it somehow, that ship is basically going to be going to the lost pile at the end of the turn. The concussion missile, 1 force to use, goes on the TIE defender. May target starship for free. And it's just basic old target hit if its total destiny is higher than the defense value of the ship you're targeting. These 2 are okay. This one's better than this, but it does cost you 2 force to use it. Draw destiny, target hit. If yes, it's better because it deploys for free on 2 tie-ins. And this one again is just the same stuff, where you basically spend 1 force and target hit with destiny if destiny is higher than their defense value. So they kind of do similar stuff. These 3, really just the combo is to make sure you use any one of those before you use your intruder missiles, and then you have a good shot of basically being able to remove one of those ships your opponent has on their side. Overall, I think the deck is a lot of fun to play. It's obviously been designed to be played against the light side Death Star 2 starter, so I would definitely recommend to get both of them if you can, and then you're going to be entering a very thematic and quite balanced game where you can recreate the basics of the Return of the Jedi final big space and ground battle. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I know it went a bit long, but every time I go into details, it does go a little bit long with these. I don't just crack them open and whoosh, that's the card we have in here. We actually go deep. We actually analyze what the deck is trying to do. We actually make sure that you guys, when you pick this deck up, you understand what you're going to be using, how the basic run of the mill is when you play with these decks. But anyway, up until next time, guys. Bustin signing out. Peace.